Thank you, Jasper. Thank you very much. And good evening, everybody. I'm just going to pull up my screen so that I can share it with you. Okay, there we go. Okay, and as Jasper said, tonight is the final and last session that I'll be doing on this specific book. And thank you for everyone that was with us and that joined us, whether it was online on the evenings or for those of you who are catching up on the recordings. So this brings us to chapter 7, which is transcending the machine. So we went through 7 chapters over the last few months, and I took you through each of these chapters on a theoretical note to really bring us up to tonight, which is, as you can see, the top of the mountain, which is transcending the machine. And this, what I mean with transcend, will come out in the end of this session. And when I refer to the machine, it's really ourselves. During this process, I've compared our software and our hardware to our mental and physical faculties. And this was really a process or a journey to develop potential. This book is really all about actualizing the potential of each individual. And the reality is that potential is something that lies dormant in all of us. But what brings out this potential is having clearly defined goals, which give us an orientation, and also at the same time, it protects us from inflammation and from many ailments. So achieving your dreams and your goals are not only of benefit for the achievement's sake, but for making you someone that can transcend your circumstances, that can overcome your circumstances. So in this chapter, we're going to look at motivation, your why power, and we are going to see that exploring new territory and setting goals helps us to unlock our potential, and then we find meaning beyond ourselves. So in tonight's session, we are going to look at climbing mountains. We're going to discuss motivation, why power, and then transcending. And then I'm going to conclude the series. Okay, so this book is all about moving you from a survival state to a thriving state. And this is the journey, this is the climb, this is the adventure that we are all on. So in this book, I've really aimed to provide you with useful tools for personal empowerment that allows you to manage your life better. So if I speak about a survival state and a thriving state, what do I actually mean with that? Now, this slide really is a representation of a survival state and what I mean with it. So if we experience any negative emotions chronically over time, this will increase our inflammatory markers and this will compromise our immune system, our performance, and lead to disease. So this is the interplay between your nervous system and your endocrine system. And when this happens, adrenaline and cortisol is increased. As I said, it leads to an increase in inflammation. And this activates the amygdala. And the amygdala is the area of the brain responsible for fear, anxiety, panic, rage, and hostility. So if this area of the brain becomes activated, this really causes a brain atrophy and all sorts of other types of disease. And this limits the activation of the prefrontal cortex. And then, as you can see, there's a negative feedback loop in place. So these negative emotions releases a cascade of neurotransmitters and hormones that in its turn leads to more negative emotions. So this is a negative reinforcing cycle. And for many of us, survival becomes our default state. And if you spend too much time in this state, your health and your performance over time will severely suffer. Now, contrast that to a thriving state. And this is when you experience any positive states or emotions like pursuit, engagement, focus, optimal performance, drive, and a desire to engage with life. If you experience these emotions, your body and brain secretes hormones and neurotransmitters like dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin. And this decreases inflammation in the body. It also activates the prefrontal cortex, and this is the area of the brain involved and activated when you are busy with planning, learning, clarity, calmness, reason, focused work, and motivation. Now, this brings about neurogenesis, the formation of new brain cells, and health. And this brings about a positive feedback loop in your brain and body. In other words, the more positive emotions you experience, the more positive and beneficial hormones your body release, it brings about more positive states. So this cascade of events is initiated by positive emotions that is a direct result from being in pursuit of a goal or having a purpose. Well, that's very important to remember. So the important lesson is, if you want to move from a survival state to a thriving state, you have to be in pursuit of something meaningful to you. That's really the crux. That's what takes you from a survival state, is expecting negative things to happen and being in a state of fear and anxiety or stress, is having something meaningful that you're moving towards to. So we need to have big, audacious goals that will inspire us, that will give us energy and focus and a reason to get out of bed in the morning, to overcome obstacles, challenges, setbacks, and adversity. So during my book writing, I did a lot of research on psychological and biological, mental and emotional, physical wellness. And one thing became very clear: meaning and purpose is predictive to health, well-being, and performance. In other words, you can tick all the other boxes. You can quit smoking, you can drink less, you can exercise, you can eat right. But if you lack meaning and purpose, your health is going to suffer. The reality is that meaning and purpose protects us from inflammation, burnout, disengagement, disease, and a premature death. So this involves going into your meta world. And I make the comparison between climbing your mountains and also clarifying and articulating your higher thoughts, your higher intentions, and your perspectives. The thing is, if you see your life, your problems, obstacles, behaviors, habits, and beliefs from a higher perspective, only then are you able and empowered to change those behaviors, perspectives, beliefs, and paradigms. And then with that, you can change your entire life. So accessing your higher intentions and your frames of mind are just like climbing a cliff or a mountain. By only looking at the mountain, you don't change, and the mountain doesn't go away. By looking at it, you live in fear, dwelling in its shadows, and nothing grows in the shadows of a comfort zone. So in the absence of exploring and exploration, fear and terror reigns unchecked. The thing is, the view from the bottom is always intimidating. It's always overwhelming and scary. You have to overcome the internal friction, doubt, and fear. You change the dangerous and unknown into familiar territory by climbing your mountains. Your purpose is found at the top, and your meaning is derived from climbing it and overcoming the obstacles. So, when you have climbed the mountain, you cannot stay on the summit forever. You have to come down again. So many people ask, why bother in the first place? The reason is because what is above knows what is below, but what is below doesn't know what is above. If you climb, you see. If you descend, you no longer see, but you have seen. So there's an art of conducting yourself in the lower regions by knowing what you saw higher up. When you can no longer see, you at least still know if you have been up high. Now, the exact same thing applies to your thinking as for climbing. Once you have been up high, your perspective changes and you see yourself, you see your challenges, your obstacles and fears through very different eyes. Now, by going on this internal journey of exposing your higher level thoughts and intentions in your meta world, this will change your view and impact your experience from one moment to the next. So this gives you access to your mental mapping and your programming for more effective navigation. And this is what we discussed in sessions 2, 3, and 4. Now, one very important thing about climbing and about facing and embracing your challenges is the important thing is always to remain in pursuit of a goal. So once you achieve one, you have to revise or restructure it. I always say the top of one mountain is the base of another. So the goal is not only to achieve your goal, but it's also to become someone who is always climbing up the mountain. And it's about the person you become in this process of climbing, metaphorically. So by taking on this frame or this perspective of seeing your life in this way, you will see life as a journey where chaos and challenge has some value and purpose. Facing and climbing your mountain will transform you. It'll help you to establish order and mold you into a stronger, healthier, fitter, braver, and more resilient version of yourself. So that brings us to motivation. Now, I've touched on this in a previous session, so I'm just going to quickly highlight it. Motivation, we have built-in reward circuits in the brain and in the nervous system. And these circuits prompt us to start moving and to keep moving into a certain direction. And when we are doing something that leads us towards wellness, adaptation, and survival. So this reward circuit that we have internally rewards us when we do things that helps us to adapt and that helps us to survive. At the same time, this reward circuit punishes behavior that doesn't lead towards adaptation, survival, and wellness. So to put it very simply, we are really programmed to seek pleasure and to avoid pain. So this is how it happens. You see something that you want, that you desire, that you need, and you focus on it. So the brain and the nervous system then informs you that you are moving in the right direction and you are getting closer to your goal. Now that could be anything basic from catching prey to finding food or water or shelter or a mate, a partner. Now, in these cases, dopamine is increased and you feel good and you keep moving towards that goal, which leads to the reward of food or a partner or water or shelter, and this leads to survival. So can you see how we are wired to survive? Because these things make us feel good because dopamine is released. And the normal things that trigger dopamine is eating, drinking, exercise, and sex, to name a few examples. These are natural things that increase the secretion of dopamine. We feel good, so we keep on pursuing these things. Of course, in today's life, there are many other things that confuses your dopamine system. Social media, gambling, overconsumption of food, alcohol, pornography, sex, all of those things can lead to an oversecretion of dopamine in today's world. But just for the sake of this presentation, dopamine motivates future action and helps us to pursue goals. It provides us with the energy and concentration and focus and motivation required to achieve our goals, whether it's something basic or whether it's something significant. So I just wanted to single out dopamine because it really is involved with the pursuit of goals. So just to summarize, dopamine is involved with the following processes. It's involved with reward, motivation, memory, learning, attention, calmness, clarity, and reason. So it's a very important molecule and neurotransmitter. And then dopamine is enhanced, in other words, its secretion is increased if we experience a sense of purpose or meaning. If we are in pursuit of something, a goal, an outcome, a dream, a desire. It is enhanced when we experience task engagement and task mastery. And all that that means is when we are engaged with a task and we are improving in our competence, we master that specific task. We're getting something right. Dopamine is enhanced when we experience ongoing achievement. In other words, we're making progress, however small it is, but we keep on making progress. We're moving forward. And that really just says what I've just said, progress in forward movement at the same time. And then is enhanced when we experience reward gratification. In other words, when we achieve our goal. So that's how motivation works on a neurochemistry level or on a biochemistry level. We have these internal reward circuits. Now, on a psychological level, many people look at willpower and it's something that's very misunderstood in today's life. People who feel stuck or demotivated or those who don't stick to their goals believe they have no willpower. But that is not true. People just don't really know how willpower works. So I'm going to explain it and just try and clarify it for you. Willpower has two psychological components or factors: attention on the one side and intention on the other side. First is attention. Now, this is what is immediately in front of you. What is on your mind? What is grabbing your attention now? What are you aware of? Hopefully, it's this presentation. So this is what you are attending to. And then we get intention. Now, this occurs in the back of our minds. This occurs at a higher level. This is where your chosen values, your understandings, your goals, and your outcomes reside. This is where you set direction. This is where you orient yourself for where you want to go. It often appears like attention has more power, or it's bigger, or it's more overwhelming than intention. But that is not the case. There's much more power in intention. The problem is we're not aware of it. And it's not always something that gets discussed. And we also have old intentions that were set when we were younger. And we don't set our new intentions deliberately. So we grow up and we typically adopt most of our higher intentions and our values by default. We chose our intentions by absorbing them from our typical cultural environment, the society where we grew up in, our religion, education, family, media, economy, social life, music, and art. We absorb our intentions from around us. So then we experience the mind just running pre-programmed programs. So it just executes what it has been programmed with through society. The reality is we can choose our higher intentions, or we can establish them. And this is how willpower works. This is how you achieve your goals. This is how you live with intention. And this is when your intention gives instruction to your attention. So your attention then does what it does best, and it just picks up stuff on the radar from its higher intention instructions. Let me give you an example. So if you are in the market for a new car and you want to buy, let's say, a red Suzuki. So the intention is to buy a red Suzuki. So before you actually buy a car, you might test drive one and you might look at some prices online. And as you're driving to work and you're driving to gym and in the traffic, you suddenly notice red Suzukis everywhere. They are just popping up like you've never seen them before. And even other color Suzukis are popping up. And you've never seen so many Suzukis. Now, this is just what attention does. You've set a higher intention of buying that car, and now your attention is picking up opportunities and instances that will help you to achieve your goal. And that is true with anything in life. So by clearly setting your higher intentions, your attentions will help you to pursue your goals and bring that into your awareness. Okay, so while this happens outside our awareness, we can do it deliberately, we can do it mindfully, we can do it consciously. If you choose and articulate your higher intentions, your higher thoughts and values, you become purposefully motivated. This is when you live intentionally and you are in charge of your higher intentions. This is really willpower. And you feel in control of your mind, your emotions, your behaviors, actions, and responses. You feel at cause, you feel motivated. It's a very, very good feeling. So, what are our higher intentions? How do we know about this? And I'm going to share a bit more with you on that now. But they are really the leverage point for true transformation. And that's why it's so important to uncover them. So most people do not achieve their goals and their dreams because they lack a strong enough intention. In other words, they lack a strong enough reason for staying with their goals. So that brings me to the question, what is your big why? What is your reason for sticking to your goals? So your ability to understand why you want something is what will energize you and sustain you in your pursuit. So I also like to say it's your why power that drives your willpower. Now, what I normally do in my workshops, I do it in the book, and I do it if I coach clients, is I tell them to start with a dream, and I invite people to think about their dreams. And the word goals can be somewhat, stifling or rigid and structured. So I always like to invite people to think about their dreams. And it happens when we grow up that we are told to stop dreaming as kids or as children. And this is often well-intended advice, but it's very poor advice because dreams are healthy. And they are not only healthy, but they are vital. Dreams inspire us to do great things. So I'm not going to take you through this whole exercise tonight. It will just take too long. But what I would like you to do is, in this session, maybe just think about some of your dreams. Maybe just answer to yourself or for yourself, what are the things that you have never done before that you would like to do? What are the things that you would do if you had unlimited time? What are the things you would do if you had unlimited money? And what are the things that energize or fascinate you? So what these questions do is maybe just write them down and go think about them tonight in your own time. These questions awaken some of our dormant dreams and ideals. And it also shakes off some of the conformity of the norms and expectations that society puts on us. Great. So this brings us to goal design. And I love this quote by Friedrich Nietzsche. He who has a why can bear almost anyhow. So what I do with my clients in my workshops and in the book as well, I recommend that people have goals or outcomes or dreams in these 5 areas of life: work or business or application, then your interpersonal environment, in other words, your relationships, then recreational, and then health, and then spiritual. So I highly recommend that we have some outcome, something to live for in each of these areas of life, to keep on growing, to keep on developing, and to keep on unlocking our potential in all of those areas. So what I use in my book is what I call I've developed 12 steps to transcending. And it is really a template for designing a clearly well-formed dream or goal. And it's a 12-step process, and it is in the book, so I'm not going to take you through it tonight, but this is really where question 3, we look at uncovering your why, and we look at unlocking your higher intentions. And this is really what is your higher meaning, your higher values, the reason why you are sticking to a goal, or the reason why you want something in life. That's what's going to energize you. That's what's going to motivate you. That's what's going to help you stick to the hard work and be disciplined in the tough times in order for you to achieve your outcome. So like I said, I'm not going to go through this whole process. It takes about an hour or so. I do have it on my website. So if you are interested to just do the gold design course, you can just send me an email and I'll give you access to that. So with this book, what I wanted to emphasize and what I wanted to bring across is that we each have a responsibility. You have a responsibility towards yourself to become everything that you are capable of being. If you don't strive to reach your true potential, you will live a meaningless and impoverished life. You will dwell in the shadows of your mountains, and you won't only let yourself down, but all those who are depending on you to live up to your full capacity. If you don't live with meaning and intention and contribute value in the way that only you can, how will those around you not suffer and those who come after you? The thing is that only when we are operating at our full potential or close to it, that we are in the best position to affect and influence those around us with our uniqueness in this world. If you don't fill the gap that you are made to fill, if you don't live up to your potential, there will be a void. And the knock-on effect that many others will experience, let's say someone else's growth or potential hinges on you achieving yours. Many people leverage off each other. So your life lays the foundation for whomever is going to build the next tier of the pyramid. So people stand on the shoulders of others in order to grow, in order to reach their potential. And you have to fulfill your role. So your contribution can only come by first living a life where your potentials are being actualized. And this means overcoming fear. This means overcoming anxiety. This means really going through the discomfort and adversity that leads to growth. So then from that position, you can help others. You can't really help others if you haven't taken care of yourself. So you can't fix the world if you are not climbing your own mountains and you're overcoming your own challenges. You have to sort yourself out first. So in a sense, it's okay to be selfish and spend the required time and resources on setting yourself straight, on being everything that you can be. So figure out what you want, what you value, and what your highest intentions and dreams are. The outcome is that you transcend. So Martin Seligman, he's the person behind the positive psychology movement, the father of positive psychology. He distinguishes between these three levels of living. The pleasant life at the bottom, then the good life above that, and then the meaningful life on top of that. So the pleasant life is devoted to the pursuit of positive emotions and experiences and can be compared to hedonism. That's pleasant life. That's at the bottom. Then a step above that is the good life. This is when you use your character strengths to obtain achievement and gratification through activities. And then one level above that is the meaningful life. And this is about using your strengths in the service of something greater than yourself. So it's no longer about yourself. So once you've developed yourself, it's using your strengths in the service of something greater and bigger than yourself. So what I intend to do is, because as I want to ask people, where is your focus? Is your focus above the line or below the line? See, it's easy for us to just seek pleasure and avoid pain and just be comfortable and not really live up to our full potential. The thing is, it entails and it requires a lot of discomfort and fear and adversity and danger for us to live a meaningful life. So our instinctive nature is not to go up. Our instincts are telling us not to go up, not to climb the mountain, not to transcend this triangle, because it's dangerous and it's uncomfortable. And many things can go wrong. You can fall. The question is, do you go? I see that line in the triangle as the threshold. And above that line is where dreams come true. And below the line is where dreams go to die. And this brings us to what I mean with transcendence. And Martin Seligman puts it very well. It is transcendence is really just a dedication and a commitment to something or someone outside or beyond yourself. So this is really dedicating your life, committing yourself to something beyond yourself. And for us as Christians, it is really living a purposeful and meaningful life in what God has designed for us. And it is fulfilling our purpose in Him. And the basic and primary purpose for us is to be conformed into His image through suffering and through trials and tribulations, to mature and to become more Christ-like in our dealings. So that is really what I mean with transcendence in this book. This when you overcome yourself and you live for something much bigger than yourself, and you contribute value to the world on a level that you forget about yourself and your selfish interests and your needs and your pain. So transcendence leads to a very usefulness, external usefulness of your life through virtuous and righteous living in line with your purpose and calling. So you're transcending yourself for the sake of the greater good, almost like sacrificing yourself and laying your life down. So that is really the summary and the theory in the last chapter. So this journey that I shared with you in these 7 chapters really leads you to transcend your life to a higher level of consciousness and a higher level of living. If you take responsibility for your unique human abilities, this enables you to use your mental faculties to engineer the life and dreams and outcomes that you desire. So this book is really to help you update your map and navigation software to see and move beyond the illusions that can keep you stuck in life. So this journey brings you to a choice point that can change the trajectory of your life. So as we went through chapter 1, chapter 2, I explained the link between inflammation and aging and disease, and the necessity of taking responsibility for your thinking, your feeling, your speaking, and your acting. And then we discussed software at length, and this was about your beliefs and about meaning and about how you develop that software. And then we went to the meta world, which was really metacognition and emotional intelligence and changing beliefs. And then we went to look at becoming a software developer and the importance of meaning and purpose and how that leads to resilience and the 6 steps you need to take for that. And then last time we explored servicing your hardware, which is all lifestyle related factors that helps you to develop a robust immune system and protect you against inflammation and aging. So with these tools, you really have the software, the commands you use, the words and the thoughts and the emotions you have are really the signals that you send out. And this really gives you a high level power to influence your life and then to live a life of contribution and value to those around you. And I use that pyramid, the unlocking potential pyramid, is really the steps that you go through in the book and in terms of developing your potential and becoming who you are meant to be. So with that said, I want to really invite you to go on your own adventure and to explore new territory and to climb your own mountains. And it doesn't mean that everyone has to become rock climbers and mountain climbers. If you enjoy the outdoors, definitely have a challenge outside and have a challenge outdoors. But I'm more referring to internal adventures and mental territory. So if you go up in your own mind, and you expose your high level intentions and values and dreams, that is when you overcome challenges. And I think that is what I wanted to share in this book. And once again, if you want more of this book and you want to understand more, you're welcome to send me an email or buy the book. It's available on Amazon exclusive books, and take a lot. So thank you very much, Jasper. That is my story. And if anyone has questions, they're more than welcome to ask.